Hey y'all, happy Friday. This is the first of Friday Night Lives. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to my channel who is going to join or who's going to watch this in the future. Thank you so much for being here. I was actually inspired by Colette Elizabeth's Friday Night Live last week and just the chill vibe. So I figured I was going to record a video on this. And I figured why not just go live and talk about it this way to kind of eliminate some of the hassle that goes in with recording and editing and uploading the video. So, yeah, here we are. So I wanted to talk about healing from a toxic job. Hey, Shamika. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to talk about healing from a toxic job and just some tips that I have utilized since I have been out of a job that was very toxic to my spirit for the past almost 5 months now. It's been, almost 5 months. So I'm just going to share those tips with y'all and hopefully they're helpful. And if y'all have any tips for healing from a toxic job, please share those as well because I definitely don't have all the answers and would love to learn from what you all know. So, just some tips that I have as you're healing from a toxic job. First is to come to a point of radical acceptance. I think that's so pivotal. And often that's kind of the first step to realizing that things need to change and that you deserve better. Is coming to that point of accepting what you're in, accepting that an environment that is toxic is very unlikely to ever get better. And that is a hard pill to swallow, especially for those of us who have dedicated our lives to maybe the field that we're in, the job that we're in. And just because you're in a certain job doesn't mean you have to stay in that job. If you still love the field, you can move to a different job. So I always want to tell you that you do have options. But when you're in the thick of it, as I know from personal experience, it doesn't feel like you have options. It often feels like you're trapped, like you're stuck in a place that you continue to experience mistreatment in. But you do have options. You do. So once you come to that point of radical acceptance that you deserve better, you deserve to be treated well where you're at, where you work. Being mistreated is not part of the job description, and you do not have to tolerate that. And the more of us, I think, who are starting to share our stories and starting to demand that, no, you have to treat me with respect. It doesn't matter if I come here for a paycheck. That's what everyone goes to work for. None of us are doing this because we want to, right? We live in a capitalist system and we have to make money in order to live, unfortunately. Once you get to that place of accepting that just because this is your job doesn't mean you have to be mistreated and that you have other options. You got this job, right? You had, you put your resume together, you did all the steps that you needed to do to get this job so you can get another job. It is possible. It is possible to dedicate time to work on your resume if you need to. And if you follow the Resume Addict on Instagram, she has so many great tips for revising your resume if that's kind of holding you back. It is doable. It is doable. And I think it's like the September hiring surge, I think it's coming up. So you can prepare for that if you're looking to exit immediately. So that is something to keep in mind. That radical acceptance that no, a toxic environment is very unlikely to change and you will continue to be harmed the longer that you're in there. And the effects, like the mental effects, the physical effects that we experience will continue to worsen the longer you're in there. Coming to that point of radical acceptance is the first tip I have. And the next tip I have is to make an exit plan. So whether that looks like I said, getting your resume together to apply to new jobs because you do have skills. A lot of the times when we're in these jobs, we kind of forget about all the skills that we have, all of the knowledge that we've gained, everything that we bring to the table. Because if you're in a place where people are constantly questioning your skills, your value, your worth, even, it can be difficult to lean back into that and to embrace that in order to even get out onto the job market again. It's difficult. It's very difficult because not only are you entering into what is already a stressful process, which is applying to jobs, interviewing, now you have to build back up your confidence because you're in a toxic job. So none of these things are easy to do. And I never want to make it seem like that. These are deep rooted things that you have to work on. You have to dedicate time to yourself because you deserve to be a priority in your life. You deserve to be well, and you do not deserve to continuously go to a job environment every day that's breaking your spirit and draining your energy. Um, you don't. You deserve so much better than that. And I always want to impart that. The next tip I have: seek out support. So whether this is looking up if your employer has an employee assistance program, that is what I use to start therapy. So it's called an EAP, and this will provide you with free therapy sessions. So you can get started with therapy at no cost to you, if that's something you're looking to do. I know therapy was pivotal for me in my healing journey. And my therapist, as I was telling her what was happening, she was able to kind of reflect back to me the issues that were existing in the job environment I was in because I thought it was me. I thought it was me. So many times we internalize the things that are happening to us, and then it kind of breaks away at our confidence. It breaks away at our self-esteem. The messages that we receive from other people, and they view us as an easy target a lot, as Black women in the workplace. But we internalize that as something is wrong with us rather than putting that where it needs to be, putting that blame on them. No, that's just their insecurity. That's it. And your light, your creativity, your greatness that you bring in naturally is triggering to them because they're insecure and they know that they could never match that. So yes, seek out support. Seek out support, please. And also get yourself in communities where other people are experiencing what you're experiencing, if you can. So that was pivotal for me. Being surrounded by people. I was in a coaching program to get out of a toxic job. Dr. Kamani has so many resources on her channel. Just being in the chat on her channel helped me so much because other Black women were sharing their story. There's stories about being in toxic jobs, about the mental health impacts, the physical health impacts, the impacts on your personal relationships. All of these are real, and nothing is spared when you're in such a toxic environment where you're subjected to mistreatment all the time. Yeah. Shamika says your aliveness makes other people's deadness more real. Oh, wow. That is so true. That is so true. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Oh, yes. That is so true. All right. And my next tip is just to give yourself time if you can. And I know, like I said, we live in systems that make it almost near impossible to take time to rest, but you have to demand it. You have to schedule time in to rest. And if you can, look into taking leave from your job if you're not ready to quit all the way yet, because it's a process to get to that point where you feel ready to leave that environment because we're often trauma bonded to these workplaces. So give yourself time, schedule in rest, schedule in relaxation time, journaling time, meditation time, anything that can kind of get you back into your body and reconnected to what you're feeling and what you're experiencing. Because disembodiment, really, like, we're living in our heads a lot and not in our bodies. And so our bodies feel the effects of that. And also we're not really aware of what's happening because our bodies often experience something first and then our mind catches up to that. And then if you are someone who has experienced gaslighting in the workplace, sometimes that message never comes through to your mind because the gaslighting serves as kind of like a block, right? But if you can reconnect with your body and those signals that you're experiencing, the the physical sensations. So when someone may say something that's disrespectful to you, the aggressive behavior in the workplace. I know that, you may feel it in your chest, you may feel it in your stomach, you may hold your breath. All of these are signals your body is saying, hey, someone's disrespecting me. I'm not okay with what's happening. So the more that you can reconnect with those signals by doing, like I said, meditation, stretching, exercise, anything to get back into your body, breath work. Breath work was so pivotal for me. Just taking time to intentionally breathe deeply, and recenter myself. Because we know as you hold your breath, your body's survival senses are activated. So you're constantly in survival mode all the time, going into a place every day. And we know if you're in the US, work is supposed to be the center of our lives. So we're spending the majority of our lives in survival mode. That is not healthy. That is not sustainable. So do what you can to prioritize yourself, your well-being, your breath. Your breath is so pivotal. Without breath, we have no life. So really reconnect to your body. That's another tip I have. And like I said before, another tip, externalize the blame. Something called narrative therapy, which I'm leaning more into providing resources about this. But narrative therapy is really taking what you're experiencing and removing it from you. So removing the blame from you and recognizing that it's someone else who's doing this to you. It's not because of you. It's not anything that you're doing. So it's shifting the blame, because so often, like I said, we internalize that blame. We internalize that something is wrong with us, that we did something to deserve this treatment. Narrative therapy is flipping it back and putting the narrative on the person who's harming you, putting the blame back on them, because that's where it deserves to be. Oftentimes, we enter into these workplaces with the best of intentions, wanting to help, wanting to assist. And if you have experienced from pet to threat, a term coined by Dr. Keisha Thomas, and I believe 2 other Black women professors. But if you've experienced this in the workplace, where you go from kind of being the office pet to the threat, where people look at you like, oh, she's trying to take my role now, and you're not. You're just being the person who they wanted you to be when they hired you, but it's kind of switches up. It's similar to like a narcissistic relationship where you experience the love bombing aspect, and then it will switch up and then you'll become the enemy. So it's very confusing. It's very confusing. So you always want to take that blame off of yourself. No, you don't deserve this. No, you're not stupid for having overlooked this, because you didn't. They saw you as someone they wanted to target. That's on them. That is their blame. That's not your blame to carry. All you did was enter into this with the best of intentions, and now you have to make a decision based on the actions that they're taking. So yes, externalize that blame as much as possible. Yeah, Shamika, Black Women Flourish Manifesto has the quote, breathe full breaths, not survival breaths. I love that. I really love that. Full breaths, not survival breaths. I'm going to keep that in mind, because when I tell you that breath work is still hard for me, it's something that I'm still working on, because when I'm stressed, the first thing I go to is holding my breath. So breathe deeply, reconnect with your body, reconnect with your senses, because your senses are telling you what's happening to you, and your senses are telling you that you're being harmed, which means you need to make a plan to exit this environment, because you being harmed every day, like I said, is not sustainable long term. Something's going to give. And unfortunately, that something is often our health, whether that is our mental health, physical health, spiritual health, emotional health, or all of them. Something will have to give, because entering into an environment that's toxic and hostile every day towards you, when you do not deserve that treatment, is not sustainable. So it is pivotal that you begin to make an exit plan from a toxic job as soon as you come to that awareness and that radical acceptance that, oh, I'm in a toxic work environment. I am being harmed every day going into this, and now it's time for me to exit. You do have the power to do that. You do. Next tip, continue to tell yourself that you did not deserve that treatment. This can be very hard when you're in the thick of it because we internalize the blame. We tell ourselves that we had to do something to deserve it, that no one would treat us like this for no reason. And so there's no reason on our part, there's a reason on their part because it makes them feel more powerful. And that's why it's important to externalize what's happening to you. That's their issue. You don't have to be anyone's punching bag, though. You don't have to sit there and take people talking down to you, people questioning your skills, people questioning the education that you work so hard to achieve, people questioning your credentials. You don't deserve that. That's their issue, and you can exit because you deserve better than that. Hey, Tea Time Beauty. Hey. Happy I caught your live. Thank you for this. I'm at this point. Yes, yes. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Yes. So you didn't deserve it. And I feel like this is something I have to continue to repeat to myself as well as to everyone who's watching, because it's so easy to slip into that. That what did I do to deserve this? You did absolutely nothing to deserve it. That is their issue. That is their insecurity that they're projecting onto you, and they're seeing you as someone who can give them more power by them taking it out on you. You don't have to stick around for that. You can pivot. You can pivot to another work environment. If you still want to, have a traditional job, you can pivot to entrepreneurship if that's what you want to pursue. You can pivot. You have the power to pivot at any time, and you're not stuck, even though it may feel like that. Even though it may feel like you have all the bills, you have all of this, you can't leave, you have the power to pivot. And if that means you have to stay in that job, now please don't stay in a job that's severely impacting your mental health to the point where it's severe. And y'all know what I'm saying. Please don't. But if you can stay in there and make an exit plan, take a leave of absence, as Dr. Kamani always mentions on her channel, Lifting As We Climb Consulting, take a leave of absence to give yourself space and clarity to be away from that toxic environment so you have the energy to even make a plan. Sometimes we don't even have the energy to think about the future when we're in these environments because they're so harmful. You can't even see a future. So that's why you need time away. You need space to breathe. You need time to reflect, to tell yourself that you did not deserve this and that you deserve so much better and that you have the power to pivot. They're lucky to have you, and they're about to lose you because you're making an exit plan and you're getting out of there and you're preserving yourself. Self-preservation is your right. You have the right to preserve yourself, your well-being, your health, and being in a toxic environment affects everyone around us in our orbit. You have the power to look out for them as well. They want to see you well. They want to see you happy every day and not struggling and loathing every day that you have to go to work. They deserve to see you well, and you deserve to be well. And the next tip I have is refrain from gaslighting yourself. And this is easier said than done because, believe me, self-gaslighting was what I defaulted to a lot of the time. But have documentation. This was so helpful for me. As I came to that initial awareness and then radical acceptance of the type of environment I was in, I started documenting. I started journaling. I started writing notes to myself. Now it's important that you keep any type of documentation on your personal device and not your work device, because again, if you're in a toxic work environment, they can try to use that against you. And I've heard stories about that. So keep these notes on your personal device. so that you can prove to yourself that what you're experiencing is real. You're not making it up. The more that you can go back and look at that log of what you've kept, listen to those voice notes to remind yourself what that person said to you, what that person did to you, how they made you feel, the words that they used, how they try to embarrass you in front of other people. The more you can remind yourself of that, it kind of eats away at that self-gaslighting, because now you have proof. You have proof to yourself. And self-gaslighting starts off as other people gaslighting us, and then we in turn do it to ourselves. So in the workplace, this could look like someone gaslighting you, raise a concern about how you're being treated, and they tell you, oh no, you're making that up. And then you start to internalize that. So the more that you're being mistreated every time, you're like, oh yeah, I guess I'm just making that up. I guess the way that my body is responding to this is just, I don't have to pay attention to that because I'm just making it up. That sends us down a spiral of not recognizing, being able to recognize mistreatment, which is a dangerous path to be on. Because our bodies, like I said, our bodies know when we're being mistreated. So now we're ignoring our natural signals that we have, our protective mechanisms that we all come here with, the signals that arise in our body, the red flags that pop up. Now we're ignoring that because someone else has doubted our reality, which is what gaslighting is. It's lying plus doubting someone's reality. And then we begin to doubt our own reality and lie to ourselves. And that's where it gets dangerous. So the more that you can document what's happening to you, keep a log of it. If that means after a meeting, going into a conference room and literally recording a voice note to yourself, this is what this person said to me, keep that, because you're going to need that in the future as time goes on. As you start to self-gaslight yourself, return to that log, return to those notes, return to those journal entries, and remind yourself that no, you're not making it up. That actually happened to you. And you deserve better. Always remind yourself of that. You deserve better. There are better workplaces. There are better opportunities out there. There are an abundance of things out there where you do not have to be harmed every day. You deserve to be well. You deserve to be happy when you wake up and not dread having to go in, having to log on and deal with being mistreated. And so much of that is really tapping into our power, tapping into the power that we have. Because the more that we're in these workplaces, they try to convince us that we're not powerful, that we don't have agency. And the work is pushing back on all of that by tapping into what you know, tapping into who you know that you are and how you got to this place. You got that job somehow, right? So you can get another job if you want to. You can apply to another job. You can start a business. You can use, I think S. Anne Marie Archer teaches people in toxic jobs how to get a severance agreement if that's something that you want to do, and use that as seed money for your business. You can use your bonus to fund into your business if entrepreneurship is something that you want to do, which is something that I'm helping Black women do through Free Black Women Virtual Solutions, is start online businesses. So there are so many opportunities. There really are. But as I know from personal experience, that when you're in that mode, when you're in that situation that just feels like it will never end and that this is all that life is going to be, it doesn't feel like you have options. But know that you do. Know that you do. And the more that you begin to come to that awareness, come to that radical acceptance, go into action, making an exit plan, surrounding yourself with a community of people who are going through similar things or who have been through similar things and can provide you with a roadmap and guidance of the next steps to take so it doesn't feel so isolating. That's another tactic of abusers, is to make you feel isolated, to make you feel as if you bring something up, no one's going to believe you. It's a tactic of an abuser. So keep that in mind. The more that you surround yourself with community, with people who are affirming you and telling you that no, what you're experiencing is real, you're not making it up, that eats away at their power, because all of a sudden you don't feel so isolated anymore. And you can begin to see the patterns in what other people are experiencing and begin to connect that to your own experience and say, wow, there's a pattern here. The more that I listen to videos on Dr. Kamani's Lifting As We Climb Consulting, Colette Elizabeth's channels talking about Black women in toxic jobs, the more I realize how pervasive this is and how much there is a pattern of abuse, a pattern of mistreatment that Black women experience in the workplace, almost as if you can predict what someone's about to say. So when I tell you that you're not the only one experiencing this, believe me, you are not. This is a pattern of behavior. And the more of us that share our stories, the more it becomes even more apparent that this is endemic. This is real. And no, you're not making this up at all. So continue to tell yourself that as you work to heal from a toxic job. And afterwards, give yourself time, give yourself space. If you're entering into a new job, this may look like really taking time to unpack what happened to you. And this can just be through journaling, right? It can be through talking to a trusted person, a therapist, a community like the one I'm building here, right? Like Dr. Kamani, Colette Elizabeth have. Surrounding yourself with people who support you, who affirm you, who have gone through what you've been through. It's so important. It's so important. And know that it is possible to be on a healing journey from a toxic job. And this is not the last thing in life, although it feels like that. It feels like you're stuck there forever. You have options, you have agency, and it is your right to exercise self preservation. It is your right to exercise self preservation, taking care of yourself so that you're okay and others around you are okay. Because toxic jobs don't just affect us as individuals, it affects entire family systems. It affects entire communities sometimes because we carry that resentment around with us at home, anywhere we go, right? So you deserve to be well. You do. And there are places out there and opportunities out there where that is possible. And you may have to leave multiple jobs, and that's okay. That's okay because that's part of the plan, right? To get out of that original environment that's toxic, heal from that. And if you recognize those red flags in another environment, now you have the blueprint to know, okay, it's time to exit this. Now I got to make another exit plan. But you have the power and agency to do that at any time. Anytime you start to see those red flags, because this is a problem that is pervasive, especially, and I can only speak coming from the U.S. Although I've heard stories of Black women around the globe, this is a global issue. Um, so you may have to do this multiple times. Know that you can. Know that you have the power to always make an exit plan from any environment that's not serving you. And you deserve better. You deserve so much better. So I hope that those tips were helpful. Um, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you for watching. Please leave a comment. I would love to hear your stories as we're building a supportive community. And I thank you so much for being here on this Friday night, talking about healing from toxic jobs because healing is possible. Um, but it may not be possible in that toxic environment. In fact, I don't think it is because being in a toxic environment, how can you heal while you're still being harmed? So as soon as you make that exit plan, you have the power to take action on that. You have the power to leave. You have the power to find a new opportunity. And there are abundance of options that are awaiting you out there. So thank y'all so much for being here. I truly appreciate everyone who's watching. And until next time, Tea Time Beauty. It's a hard truth. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. To everyone who's watching, I hope these tips were helpful, like I said. And I hope to make more content like this in the future as I am growing more comfortable with talking about what I experienced. I know it's been 5 months almost, but I'm definitely in the beginning stages of my healing journey. Um, but yeah, I hope that was helpful. I hope that was helpful, y'all. And I'm wishing you a beautiful evening, a beautiful weekend. Shamika, thank you. Yeah, don't forget to like the video. Yes. So hopefully this message can get out to other Black women who are experiencing being in a toxic job and then healing from the aftermath, because that's real. That's very real. Hope y'all have a beautiful evening, and thank you so much for being here. Until next time. Bye.